this recipe is for a cream cheese filled apple bundt cake, another good fall recipe. But before I even make the cake, I'm going to make the cream cheese filling that goes in the middle of the cake. Here I have 8 ounces of softened cream cheese and a half a stick or a quarter of a cup of softened butter, which go into my mixer, along with 1/2 cup of sugar. And I want to blend that until they become nice and smooth. And then I'm going to add 1 egg, 2 tablespoons of regular flour, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's looking pretty good. I'll add the vanilla. Now I'm going to add the 1 egg. Okay. I'm going to take it off the mixer. I want to scrape down the sides, make sure that everything's getting blended well. I'm even going to scrape down my blade here. And as long as I have it off, I'm going to add the flour, the 2 tablespoons of flour. And then you can just take this filling and put it aside while you make and bake your cake. And that's our filling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this filling to a smaller bowl, so I can clean up this big mixer bowl because I'm going to need that to make the cake in. So, transfer it over. It doesn't matter if there's a few little lumps in the cream cheese, just as long as you don't have any really big ones. But this is fine. And that's it. I'm going to put this aside. I'm not even going to refrigerate it, and I'm going to clean up my decks and get ready to make my cake. Well, we've made the filling, and now it's time to make the cake. The filling is waiting aside. We don't need that until the cake is done. I'm going to start, it's a very easy recipe because it's kind of like dump everything in. 3 cups of flour, and in the flour I have a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, and about 1/8 of a teaspoon of allspice, and just a pinch of salt. We're just going to dump that all in. Now usually in cakes you do the creaming method, but we're doing it this way. Then I have 1 cup of white sugar, 1 cup of brown sugar, and I think that's it for the moment. I'm just going to mix those around real quick. Just get those blended up. Then what else I have here is 3 eggs, 3/4 cup of canola oil, 3/4 cup of regular applesauce, teaspoon of vanilla. I have a cup of very finely chopped pecans, which are going in next. And then I have 3 cups of chopped up Gala apples. You don't have to use Gala, but in this recipe I would suggest use a sweeter apple, not a Granny Smith or something like that. Okay, we'll blend those around. I'm going to add my vanilla. I'm going to add my oil. I'm going to add my eggs. So once you get all these things measured out, the rest of the cake is really very easy to make. Okay, I'm going to take this off and add my applesauce. Back on the mixer to give it a ride. Get it nicely blended. And then I'll just start putting in my apples. In the meantime, my oven is heating to 350 degrees. This is going to bake for over an hour, maybe as much as an hour and 15 or 20 minutes. Very moist cake. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, now get this stuff off to the side. And here is our cream cheese filling that we had before. And then here is my bundt pan. Now, normally what I like to do with a bundt pan is hand grease it and flour it, but I'm going to give it a shot with a spray and just making sure that I get into all the nooks and crannies, because if you don't, your spray doesn't seem to be working that well today. I might be getting towards the end. I think I just might have enough. This is another thing about the spray. I can feel there's a lot more stuff in here and I'm not getting it out. Get rid of that. And then here's our apple mixture. I'm going to get this in. We're going to put approximately 2/3 of the mixture in. It's very sticky and thick. A little bit more, I think. All right, and then with my other favorite toolers, you may or may not know, my offset spatula. I love this tool. And I'm kind of bringing this up the sides, pushing it towards the side. So I'm making like a well in the center. You don't want the cream cheese to hit the sides of the pan. You want to keep it as much encased by the cake mixture as you possibly can. Now we start spooning that into that little well that we made. You can see how later on when the cake is baked and you cut into this and you get this almost like a cheesecake filling. Okay. And now with plops, we'll put the rest of the filling on top. Again, my oven, 350 degrees. Like I said, I will start checking for doneness at about 50 minutes. I know it's going to take longer. This is just a heavier kind of a cake with a lot of moisture in it. Back to my wonderful little offset. And just kind of cover up as much as you can. You're not going to get it 100%. Okay. And as I like to do when I'm baking something like this, I like to put it on a pan that's lined with foil so that if it does for some reason go over, I don't have the oven to clean. All right, I'm going to put it in that 350 degree oven. I'll start checking at 50 minutes and then I'll show you when it comes out. Well, here is our cream cheese filled apple bundt cake out of the oven. It looks spectacular. Now, it's way too warm to even turn it out. So we're going to let this sit in the pan. Put my timer on for 15 minutes. We're going to let it cool in the pan. After 15 minutes, I'm going to turn it out onto the rack, and then we're going to let it cool for a couple hours until it's really cool before we make a nice glaze for it. Here is our cream cheese filled apple bundt cake. And I don't know if you can see, but I can see it along the edges here where you can see some of the filling. And I can see some in the middle, which you probably cannot see. But anyway, it has now been cooling for a couple of hours. It's perfectly cool. So now we're going to make a little bit of an icing for it. We're going to make a cinnamon glaze. This is 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. And to that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Okay. And I'm going to put that on our mixer. Very simple icing. This is not one with a butter. It's just sugar and milk, which I have right here. Just mixing in the cinnamon with the sugar. And now this will take anywhere from 3 to 4 tablespoons of milk. So I'm going to start off with 2. See how it goes. It doesn't take much liquid to absorb a lot of confectioner's sugar. And then I'm going to make my own little piping bag out of a Ziploc freezer bag. Here we go with number 3. I think I'm just going to try half. And I'm using a tall glass here, and I'm putting my corner side down into the glass, pulling the top over. And now this makes it really easy for me to hold my bowl and to put this glaze in there, and that's about it. Okay, very simple frosting. Give that a quick mix. Now get it into my bag. You could make any flavor if you wanted to. You can make a plain vanilla frosting. A good one on this cake would be a caramel-based frosting, like a praline. I was going to do that, but I figured I would keep it simple today. Because with the praline, you have to cook the brown sugar and the cream and everything. Here we go. Simply take it out, and now holding the top, give it a couple of twists, and now you have your own little piping bag. But you need to get that tip off of there. And just a little. Hold it this way, you won't have any drips. And then I'm just going to start glazing. And the simplest is just a back and forth ribbon. All over the cake. Now, if you wanted to also at this point, you could finely chop some pecans and put them on top while this glaze is still wet, because after a while this is going to dry pretty hard, and if you tried putting nuts on, then they would just bounce off, and what's the point? That's the fun part. I love doing this, it's relaxing. You could do back and forth squiggles, or you could, if you didn't want to do this with a bag, you could just take a knife or an offset spatula and just spread it over. Or you could just dump it and let it fall where it may. It's up to you. No one's going to care once they're eating it anyway. Okay. Some left over. That's okay. So there is our apple bundt cake with a cream cheese center and a cinnamon glaze. It's a really good recipe.